Hi all, welcome to the final round of Group A of the Chessable Masters. So as a reminder, there are two groups, Group A and Group B, and each group has 6 players, of which the top 4 qualifies for the knockout stages. And after round 9, the standings they are as follows. We have Carlsen and Artemiev in the top position with 5.5 out of 9, Dubov with 5 out of 9, Grischuk and Nakamura with 4 out of 9, and Harikrishna with 3 out of 9. So Dubov he just needs a draw to qualify, whereas Nakamura has to win, and even then he is dependent on the result of this match between Grischuk and Harikrishna. Grischuk has to win to qualify, and unfortunately for Harikrishna, he is already out of the tournament. I will show both games. And I actually already made the video for Nakamura versus Dubov. It's already on the channel. And so this game will be Grischuk against Harikrishna with Grischuk with the white pieces and Harikrishna with the black pieces. So the time control is 15 minutes per game with a 10-second per move increment. So yeah, with that being said, let's get this started. Let's just remove this. There we go. Here's the game. So Grischuk opens with d4. We have knight to f6, so we have the Indian game. We have c4, and now e6, knight to f3, and c5. We have the Blumenfeld variation. d5 now by white. We have takes and takes in the center. And now, well, you could go for something like d6. Harikrishna plays actually g6, preparing to fianchetto the bishop. This is just normal. You have to develop your dark square bishop somewhere, and the this route is just blocked, so it makes perfect sense to play g6 and fianchetto the bishop. So knight to c3 by white, bishop to g7, and now e4, solidifying the center. We have castles by black, and now bishop to d3. Rook to e8 now, and now castles by white, so the kings are both safe. And now black plays g6, trying to open up um, this diagonal. So what black really would like to do is get his bishop here, trade it off on f3, and then develop his knight to d7. Because he is a bit cramped here. Um, because where would you develop your pieces? If you put your knight here, the bishop is trapped. So you do need the room. But Grischuk doesn't allow it, and he plays h3, taking away this square. Uh, so in order to create some room now, Harikrishna has a nice move now, and he plays c4. The thing is, if you take this is what also happens in the game. So let me just show you this. If you take, you have this pawn becomes available for the grabs. So we have takes here, and now we have an f5 square available for the bishop. So this was is Hare Krishna's plan. This is also the idea behind um, a move like c4. And if you don't capture, let's say you go to c2, um, now black can actually play something like knight to a6. The c5 square is now available for the knight, and the bishop can develop to d7. So either way, c4 is a great move. But Grischuk decides to capture. So we have captures and captures and captures on e4, and now bishop back to d3, kicking the rook back to e8. Bishop to g5, and while f6 is an option, you don't really want to do this because you will block your own bishop, and also there will be some gaps now in the defense of black. So you don't want to do that. Instead, you could play something like queen to b6 with additional options, just putting pressure on the b2 pawn. But Hare Krishna played bishop to f6. So you have queen to a4 now, with the idea if you take and take, you cannot capture the knight because the rook will be hanging. Yeah, so but this allows for a trick. for Harikrishna. He plays rook to e5, attacking the pawn and the knight. So how will you defend this as white? I mean, you cannot. There's no move to defend them both, so you're gonna lose either one. Um, Grischuk plays f4, defending the knight because this knight is very strong, but he gives up the e4 pawn. Or does he? Because now Grishuk plays queen to c4, and suddenly it becomes clear that this pawn was poisoned. Yeah, you could not take it because now you have a problem here on f7. You cannot move the rook. Let's say this because you just get checkmated. Yes, like this. So you cannot move the rook. Um, so you can maybe defend it with this, but also uh, with bishop to e6. But then you get takes, and here, and now we have um, black's position will just completely crumble. You have to play something like rook to h5, and you have a check here. And after king to h8, you have even an option of playing f5 first before maybe doing this. Yeah, so to just show you this line, it's just completely crushing. Yes, completely crushing. So you cannot play your bishop there. So Harikrishna actually decided to give up the exchange, and he played rook takes g5. So we have f takes g5, and now developing the bishop to e6. You can't take the pawn because this bishop will be hanging. So bishop to e6, queen to f4, defending the pawn, and now knight to c6. We have rook to f2, just maybe defending this pawn, maybe trying to have a better here, and making room for the bishop to retreat. Bishop to e5, so the bishop is under attack, so we made the room for the bishop to retreat. And now queen to b6, um, uh, putting some pressure on the b2 pawn. For now it's defended, but at least it's a good position for the queen. I have king to h2 now, getting rid of this nasty pin, and now rook to c8. b3 and rook to c3 now. Black is trying to get some counterplay. I mean, the black structure is pretty solid, and it gives him the options to actually maybe attack on the queen side in the future. So you have rook to d1, and now the queen goes to c7. Have this nice file. White has this half open file, and black can now maybe think about start pushing these pawns. So we have king to g1 now, and really it's time that Grischuk really starts to how to convert this because he has to win. So he has the exchange up, so he needs to start getting into action. Yes. So we have a5 by black, and now queen to d4 by white, and now this pawn is now a target. So how do you defend it? You could play maybe rook to c6, but Harikrishna plays d5, and actually this allowed for a trick for white, which would greatly simplify the position, and that is actually bishop to c4, cutting off the defense of the rook. So now the rook is hanging, and if you capture the bishop, you can simply capture the rook. So the only option is to move the rook. So you have to move the rook to g3. Now you capture on d5. We have captures and captures, and now black can capture on g5, followed by a queen check on d8. And if you look at this position, it is greatly simplified, and white is just the exchange up and just completely winning here. So that was a nice trick after d5 to play bishop d4. However, Grischuk played queen to f4, uh, pinning this knight, even though the queen is now defended. But it feels a bit uncomfortable for black. Um, we have b6 now, and yeah, because there's just expanding on the queens, that seems like a logical move. But in fact, this now completely blunders the game. And I wonder if you can spot it. Yeah, I'll give you a few seconds. White to move and win. So, yeah, Grischuk plays rook to e1 and just attacking the knight twice now. And the only way is just to move the knight. And Harikrishna, he moved the knight back to d7. But the move you really had to find is rook takes e6. And this is now just game over. If you take the rook, you'll get queen to f7, king to h8, queen to e8, king to g7, and rook to f7 will be checkmate, so you cannot capture the rook. So you'll have to capture the queen, but before white captures, you can actually check. So white will check, knight moves, and after you recapture the queen, suddenly you're full rook down as black. So after rook e6, Harikrishna resigned the game. And with that, Grischuk actually qualifies for the knockout stages. And with this win, it's also very important for the other match between Nakamura and Dubov. Do check it out. And if you like this video, please comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.